and they went to they've gone to a 10-inch wheel,
You get here before me.
so it's better with sidewalk cracks and all that. They're getting better.
It was a squad car following him.
Yeah, that's right.
You
The light
didn't have
package
such.
on my Honda Accord siren.
Come on.
That'd be fun, actually.
That'd be so awesome.
That would be fun.
My God.
Push the button and have the car fly, right?
Yeah.
Like like the DeLorean change that he looped.
There we go,
Yeah, yes.
on the air.
All right. Meeting will come to order. Let it be noted all members are present. First order of business is an ordinance to create section 1023 of the Allis Municipal Code relating to operation, parking, and rental of electric scooters. Attorney Cale Decker will make a presentation at this time.
Thank you, President Lysick. A few weeks ago, I presented to the Safety and Development Committee the idea of electric scooters and what they were, and a new law that was passed, being passed to draft something to regulate that type of activity. I came up with this version. Basically what it is it's one side of the equation. So if the city is interested in taking advantage of every option given to this by the state for regulating these types of vehicles, then this would be it. It essentially limits their use so that they cannot be operated on any road that would have a speed limit in excess of 25 miles an hour. It imposes a restriction that they cannot be operated on a sidewalk or bicycle way. Also says that they can't be parked in a way that would block a sidewalk more than 4 feet. I picked 4 feet, even though that's not particularly in the code, but that's a common number I saw in other places, but it could be 5 feet or 3 feet or whatever you want it to be. But it essentially says you can only park on the sidewalk if you leave that path. Any illegally parked scooter would be impounded. And then it also prohibits the short-term commercial rental of electric scooters within city limits, which generally means that they cannot operate. And again, anything operated within the city, the owner would be the one that would be cited, not the operator necessarily. So it's the business that is prohibited, not necessarily the rider. This is again essentially taking everything the state allows any city in the state to do and imposing regulation where it's allowed. I started at that point in time just because I figured that this would be the outer boundary, and then if the council has any interest, then we can peel things away or change things around so that it's a version that the council would agree with. But I thought this would be a good way to present it so that there's one end of the spectrum where you do nothing and let the state laws just simply take effect and operate. The other end of the spectrum is this, where we've maximized all regulations the city can really take. The city can go either way or anywhere in between.
So if I understand this correctly, if we do nothing, they're free to operate in the city. Anyone can drive them around basically only with the whatever state regulations are on them. And they could ride them on sidewalks, they could ride them on streets with 35-mile-an-hour speed limits, that type of thing.
Correct.
So we have to regulate them if we so desire.
Correct.
Mr. Chair?
Alderperson Weigel.
So this would allow private ownership of an electric scooter
Correct.
and the use essentially on streets, not sidewalks.
Correct. It would allow private ownership, and there's nothing that the state allows the city to do to prohibit
About
private
that.
ownership or use on roads of 25 miles an hour or less.
Okay. So I guess the first question is, do we want to allow the commercial use of scooters? I mean, Lime, Bird, and what's the third one? Spin. And there may be others, or fewer. So I guess that's probably the first question for us.
I looked at it the opposite way. I think the first question is, do we want to regulate them, period?
Yeah.
And
Well, I think we do.
I think we do. And then the next question is, do we want to allow the rentals? Is if we regulate them, the private owners can have them, and they just have to follow the rules. Do we want to rent them? That's the main question. Now, Lime Scooter had indicated to me they were going to be here tonight, and they knew what time the meeting was. I don't see them here. I think, I don't know, did you talk to them at all?
I did not. We could check council chambers if they're there. I don't know.
I think it was dark in there
Oh, it was.
last I looked.
Mr. Chair, you mentioned the word impound. Can you elaborate a little bit?
Sure. So by creating a parking regulation for a vehicle, part of the state law allows the city to take control of and seize an illegally parked vehicle and move it to an impound and take it for that purpose. So this provision right here is essentially the way that I got to how would you enforce a parking regulation on a scooter, which is an odd question. You can't, you issue a ticket to it, it's usually it's already in the way and needs to be removed. So this would allow an officer to either take the scooter and impound it him or herself, or contract and arrange for someone else to do the same.
And that's only if it's blocking a sidewalk.
Correct, if it's parked illegally, which would in this case be parked in a manner on a sidewalk that does not leave a 4-foot walking path.
Okay.
And Mr.
Alderman
Chairman?
May.
On that, I don't know where the 4 feet comes from. I'm guessing most sidewalks are 5 feet, so they're just saying put it to the side on the sidewalk. But the thing that bothers me when I see these out is how close they're placed to curb ramps and intersections and driveways. The way this is written, if someone drops one of these off at the back end of someone's driveway or in front of their carriage walk or in a way that would obstruct an intersection, we don't really cover that here. I think we should.
It certainly could be more explicit, yes.
So I would just want to add something to that effect.
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Vitelli.
Yeah, based on the fact that I know the bicycle don't have no liability or any insurance, what about for those scooters? There would be some kind of, they need to have some liabilities or, I mean,
From the city's perspective, or the owner or operator?
well, the owner, I mean, say if it's the scooter owner fault, you know, and he gets an accident with a vehicle, well, who's responsible then? I mean, that's,
They're brand new vehicles, so there's not gonna be specific law on this, but I would anticipate a court would find these would be just like any other vehicle. Where a bicycle in an accident with a car, the bicycle rider would be as liable in that case as someone who's riding a scooter. So I would expect that to be the case, but those would be civil matters between those two
between the
parties.
two people involved.
The city itself would not face any liability by allowing scooters to be ridden
Okay.
on the street.
Certainly a consideration for anyone renting them, though.
Yes.
Yeah, see, that's the question, you know.
Alderman Weigel.
Back to the parking issue. What if they're left on private property, whether it's someone's driveway at a residence or a parking lot at, say, Pick and Save? Could the private property owner then essentially call it abandoned? I mean, there's no, it'd be like if somebody left a skateboard there, right?
Yeah, so treat it the same as if a bicycle or a skateboard or any other type of vehicle is left on a private property, it'd be treated the same where.
They could just pick it up and throw it in the dumpster. Can you consider it your own property?
I wouldn't say that, but I would say that you can maybe presume it's abandoned if it was left on your private property, and you should treat it as abandoned property. If it's something of value, by law, you're supposed to report that to the police.
Assuming that we enact this ordinance pretty much in its form, and which means that we do not allow short-term rentals, I'm under the assumption that the companies that rent these have the technology that if someone wants to drive them from Milwaukee into West Allis, that they can put up a virtual wall and the scooter will shut off at the point.
At this point in time, Lime actually has voluntarily already done that. I would say voluntarily, but they have done that as a result of the agreement they had with the city of Milwaukee, as well as, I'm not sure if Bird is doing that yet or not, but what Lime did is, because of that agreement, they agreed that their vehicles wouldn't be able to be stopped, or at least the billing wouldn't stop outside of the city of Milwaukee limits. So people could ride them into other cities, but, and you've probably seen a couple
We
in
have.
West Allis at times. What happens there is that they can enter the city, and the reason that they don't have a hard line, even though they could technologically do that, is because you can imagine someone crossing a street, crossing a line, and all of a sudden turning off in the middle of the street and a car's coming. So for liability reasons, they did not want their scooters to shut off at a hard line. But the way they accomplished it was they just said that you cannot stop the billing. So if someone rides into West Allis and wants to park it, they don't have an opportunity to stop the meter from running. So either they have to stay with it, or someone else could pick it up and ride it back to Milwaukee on their dime. So that was the way that they handled it, and I thought that was a good balance. It is something they're doing as a result of the contract they have with Milwaukee, though, so there wouldn't be necessarily something stopping a third party that doesn't have an agreement with Milwaukee from starting to operate in West Dallas or in a different city and allowing them to be operated and stopped within the city limits here.
But if we have the short-term rental, then that
But enacting this
precludes
ordinance
it.
would prohibit that. And they're pretty clearly identifiable as rentals. It's not like there'd be a question as to whether one's a rental or not. Obviously, advertising and marketing is a big part of it, so they're usually labeled as such.
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Weigel.
Attorney Decker, do you know, my understanding is Wauwatosa just recently allowed the rental use?
I have not heard of that. Is it just recently?
Yes, like in the last couple days, maybe
Oh,
like last
okay.
Friday or something.
No, I did not see that.
Okay, and do we know what, say, West Milwaukee or Greenfield's doing, or, no?
I haven't-
Everybody's in the same spot?
I haven't reviewed those yet. All I looked at was Milwaukee's, and this would be going significantly farther than Milwaukee did.
I'm also on the Milwaukee County Trails Council as a bicycle representative, and Milwaukee County Parks policy is that they're allowed on the Oak Leaf Trail, a major segment of which goes through our community. They are still grasping, trying to figure out, so the Oak Leaf Trail is their bicycle way signed. Then they have miles of sidewalks in the parkways also, and they're kind of vague or haven't decided if they're gonna allow them essentially on any sidewalk in a park. Say around McCarty Park, around the pool, you know, the picnic area, or along
Greenfield Park, whatever.
Greenfield Park, wherever, La Follette. So that's something that the Trails Council, I know we've been talking about it for like a year. Obviously, for ease of the consumer to understand, it's good if most municipalities have similar, maybe not identical rules. So if you cross the line at 60th Street, suddenly you're in a different rule or something like that. I'm not saying we have to let Milwaukee tell us what to do, but it would be better for transparency and ease of use if we want to allow the rentals. And then the one thing on this that I think we do want to change, we're banning them on bike
Bike lanes?
a bike way
Away.
or in the bike lane.
So
May park,
No.
no.
They can't park in the roadway, bicycle lane, or
Okay,
bicycle
can't
way.
but
park
it, but
it
it
there.
says no person shall operate in a bicycle way. So, the question is, what's New Berlin doing with their trail? Because the New Berlin Rec Trail runs directly into Greenfield Park and then runs onto our, what I would consider to be our, the crosstown connector is our really own off-street, our only off-street bike way. And what does bike way mean? We have,
a bicycle way is defined in statute as anything designated as a bicycle way by the municipality.
okay,
That's all.
so we have a bicycle way designation, we have bike routes that are, we have signs on streets just showing streets as bike routes. We have the Crosstown Connector, which runs east to west through the whole community, which is, I assume, designated, officially designated beyond just the hanging of a sign. And I think most communities are moving towards letting these scooters operate anywhere bicycles are allowed to operate. Now in West Allis, we're different than most cities. We allow bicycles on our sidewalks. We allow adults to ride bicycles on our sidewalks in West Allis, which I personally don't agree with. They're banned in the downtown, the 6 blocks of Greenfield Avenue, the downtown. But I think we should strongly consider allowing the rentals. I think we're gonna have a hard time fighting. They're gonna turn up here anyways. People are already using them in our community. And I think Lime could be more aggressive with their geofencing of the idea that, yeah, it wouldn't be a good idea for the thing to just stop when you hit coming to
Yeah,
West
it can't.
Dallas. But they have a feature called Ring, okay? So when you wanna rent one, and if you don't see it where the app says it is, you can hit a button and it'll ring like an alarm on the thing. Because it could be locked in somebody's garage or sitting behind a bush. It could certainly ring as soon as it came into West Dallas and being annoying enough and distracting enough that the user's gonna go, oh man, I'm not supposed to be here, rather than just letting them run the meter on the thing when it gets parked. They could be a little more aggressive on those, on that geofencing, if we're gonna ban them.
I thought we changed the bicycle rule, that you couldn't bicycle on the sidewalk any
No,
longer.
bicycles, the state of Wisconsin bans biking on sidewalks in
Right,
cities
and I thought
by
we had
default,
that.
but communities are allowed to allow adults to ride bicycles on the sidewalks.
Yeah, but I thought we didn't we said they couldn't not. They could not.
No, the only place bicycles are not allowed in the city on sidewalks is in the C1 zoning district.
Can you look that up?
Yes,
Easier.
it's right here.
Yeah, they used to be legal, and the
used
argument
to be
came out
legal,
with,
yeah,
with Highway
right.
100, 116th Street, Greenfield Avenue,
Right.
et cetera, that they're just too dangerous to be
Right.
on Highway 100.
Right.
Exactly,
So they
so you
allow
let
them
them on
onto
the
the sidewalk.
Yep.
Just in that area?
No,
No, citywide except for the downtown, and that's for protection of the
I
pedestrians in the
didn't know they
downtown.
changed
Yeah.
it.
I don't know, it wasn't,
We did.
Yeah,
it was
we
before
changed
I
it.
was on the council.
Yeah,
I
think.
remember that.
Alderman May.
To Alderman Weigel's position, I wouldn't have a problem with them operating on bicycle ways either. You're saying multi-use trails, let
Yes, yeah.
them, but I would not want them parking on bicycle paths. I wouldn't want the crosstown connector to get filled with
Well, it'd be the same
things on either side.
4-foot rule. But you're right, two-way traffic on our crosstown connector needs more, bicyclists
Need more width.
needs more width. The crosstown connector, you might want to
Ban-
ban parking on the crosstown connector.
Multi-use trails, and-
Yeah.
yeah.
Mr. Chair, what's the lifespan on the battery on those scooters?
Right now, the latest models last 8 to 9 hours.
8, 9 hours, eh?
The older models, 4.
4 hours. Because I noticed like in Seattle, Washington, I saw about 5 or 6 lay on the street or by the curb, people just to let them, just so that this thing stop, you know, and they just let it sit there, you know,
Just
and
clear-
move on. I mean, they just let them sit there, you know, I mean, to me,
And to clarify, that's run time.
yeah.
So if they're sitting there, they're not using electrical energy,
Yeah.
so they can last longer out there, but running for 4 hours or running for 9 hours.
9 hours, okay.
Mr. Chair, just so everybody knows, Lime's policy is they pick them up every night.
Yeah.
Somebody goes around, a independent contractor goes around with a van, and they know where they all are, you can see on the app, and they go pick them all up, charge them overnight, and the next morning they redistribute them where the algorithm, Lime's algorithm, knows they're needed the next morning. And that's a job that people do for money, they're not Lime employees or independent contractors working for Lime. So that they will not be sitting there overnight, if they go with the policy that they say they're doing. They would not be sitting in someone's front yard. It might be there at 10 o'clock when you go to bed, but when you get up in the morning, it's gonna be gone. So,
And
they still look like clutter.
Alderman Roten and I have experienced that in our district. We had a couple of parked on.
We had
one
some
of
on
the
Greenfield during the
neighborhoods,
fair.
And they were gone the next day,
Yeah.
next morning.
Lime knows where they are all the time. I could show you on my app on the phone where, there's probably some in West Allis right now. Unlawfully or parked.
Lawfully now.
Well, not yet.
As of this moment, though.
Chief, I see you moving up. You have any comments on this?
I bet you was gonna buy one, I bet you will.
I've actually got a few questions for Hale. Who is, if we would get to the point of issuing a citation, who does the ordinance have us issue that to? The rider or the company? And certainly there could be different things. Rider conduct is one thing, how they're operating. Clearly they would know if they're outside of ordinance or not, but when you're having conversations about leaving a 4-foot path on a sidewalk, no rider would know that that ordinance exists. So who is ultimately responsible in the ordinance?
So, as you can see, 1A and B
I
have
can't
to
see, I
do.
don't have my glasses.
Oh, sorry.
And I'm finding it.
Enlarges it.
Look at you. Magnification.
So, under sub 1, that would be one where actually the rider would face the penalty because it's that person actively operating on a road or operating on a sidewalk or bicycle way. So you'd have to catch that person in the act to enforce those two likely. Number 2 is the parking one. And although it does say no person may park, you'll see, as I anticipated, it'd be very difficult to find the person who actually parked the scooter. So as an alternate way of enforcing that law, I just created the impound procedure that simply allows you to take custody of that scooter that is illegally parked. So that would be the way to enforce that, as opposed to, unless you literally see someone park it in violation, then you could cite that person. But the much more effective and likely way would be the impound procedure. And then third, the short-term commercial rental, because they generally do have a lot of markings indicating that they're rentals, you'd be able to see from a distance whether one is in the city limits.
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Weigel.
Again, if Lime wanted to be fully transparent with us, they could tell us who left it there. Lime knows who the last renter of that scooter
I
is.
believe they could find that out.
Yeah. Not that we're gonna go through all that for a
They do-
$35 ticket or
They
whatever.
anonymize a lot of their information, and I think it's a process to go back and find out
We
who it
could,
is.
we could tell them you operate in West Allis, these are the rules we want.
Yeah, so I think they have the technology to do that, though.
Alderman Shaplowski.
Is that, if we do impound them, is there a fee for them to get them back?
It's right
Reasonable,
there.
yeah, whatever the reasonable. fee is.
Reasonable.
Yeah.
So the cost of doing so, they have to pay that before they can get it back. I can tell you that the early models, the first generation of, for example, Bird scooters that came out in Milwaukee last summer, their total manufacturing cost was in like $20 range. It was extremely cheap. They're the same models that are sold for $300 at other places retail. But when you buy 100,000 of them, they get a lot cheaper. So the newer models that are a lot heavier with larger tires and much sturdier construction, I don't know what their actual manufacturing cost is, but I anticipate it's much higher than what it was. And so the theory would be that because they're more valuable now, the companies would actually have an incentive to pay an impound fee to get them back. And I would be relying upon that for enforcement, because otherwise they may just simply abandon them. But then, treat it as abandoned property, and then the police department would be able to dispose of the abandoned property by statute, by selling them.
Any other questions or comments? What's your pleasure for drafting this type of an ordinance? Do we want to include the rentals?
Tom, perhaps maybe we just do a little straw poll to see,
Yeah.
like, go down each thing and say who's in favor of this and who's not. And maybe we'll know what direction.
Yeah,
I think we're all here, right?
Yeah, everyone's here.
And I know my opinion, but, others
Yeah.
might have different opinions, so.
Well, I'm in favor of all of the regulations,
Yeah, so.
period.
Okay, who's in favor of that?
I'm in favor of it.
Regulations, you mean 1 and 2?
Everything,
You mean banning the rentals in our city.
the whole sweeping thing.
The whole thing.
With the
No,
minor changes that you guys want, for the bicycle.
so if someone bought one, they could still use it.
Yeah.
But we'd want them off of our sidewalks
Mm-hmm.
and in the streets and in the bike lanes.
Not the bike
No,
lanes.
No.
Well, the bike lanes,
No.
yes.
Yes.
The bike lane is just an area designated on a street, but a bicycle way would be the off-street path.
How fast do these things go?
15.
By statute, they can go up to 20. If someone
Which is-
develops one that speed.
Pretty fast if you're on it.
Without a helmet.
Hey, those things, they exceed the 25 or they stay within 25?
My
They can
concern,
operate on a 25
my concern with it is,
all the side streets.
there's so limited experience here. Milwaukee has them on a trial basis that's gonna end at the end of the year. And before I say let's allow them in West Allis, I'd like to see what the experience has been in Milwaukee. Have they had a lot of accidents, that type of thing? Have they had any major problems with them being left all over the place? And I'd like to get a little experience before we jump in and allow the leasing here. So my opinion is, let's wait till next year and see how Milwaukee does with their program. And if Wauwatosa just did it, they probably will have some experience too. And give us a little something to take a look at. I'm not totally close to the idea of allowing them. I just think we should take a step back and wait a little bit and see what the experience is before we jump into it and then have to backtrack later on.
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Weigel.
I guess I'm in favor of that, with my city, the center logic, you know, let someone else be the expensive test driver on the concept, especially with winter coming.
Yeah.
They were indeterminate of what they were gonna do once the snow starts flying. They didn't know if they were gonna leave them in snow.
The roller
Yeah.
skates on.
Yeah.
So, and the idea, but we're not signing a contract with any individual company on this. This would be something, if we allowed it now for the rest of the fall and into however the season ends, we could certainly change it in December or any time, right, Cale?
Yes, so
Yep.
this is not a licensed activity, meaning that no one gets a right to operate, so you could just change the ordinance later on. If you wanted to allow it now, you could prohibit it in the future.
Yeah. I just
Well-
want to go on the record that I'm in favor of the concept of the rentals, but I guess I'm willing to wait, take a wait and see attitude to see how it shakes out with our neighbors.
My concern is if we say we allow the rentals, are they gonna be putting up rental stations here, and where were they gonna be, and how many?
No, I think the whole point of it is that it's a very low infrastructure business. Their hardware costs are the scooters.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
but
that's
you have
it.
to have a place to pick them up. And if you're gonna ride them in West Allis, you have to have a station someplace.
No, they don't, there wouldn't necessarily be a station anywhere. That they would just leave them, when they distribute them in the morning, they'll use an algorithm and find out where their rides are originating and ending, and especially where's an AM ride start, probably in someone's house, and probably they take it down to work, you know, or whatever it is, or train station, bus station, maybe the park and ride lots, you know, I don't know, but they'll run an algorithm, and over time, they'll sort out where they go, and so the contractors who pick them up and charge them overnight, they call them juicers, then they would at like, by 7 AM, they don't put them back where they picked them up. Lime will tell them where they want them.
I
And
understand.
they'll be in public property. They'll be on our sidewalks at 7 AM, or at the intermodal station at 7 AM, or in front of a hotel at 7 AM. They won't have like a
Better not be on the
designated.
sidewalks, because that's illegal.
Well, they would be, yeah, that's what we're trying to sort out right now. That's what we're
That's
trying
what
to
I'm
sort out
saying,
right
yeah.
now, yeah.
So the whole purpose of these companies is to have no dock. They're all dockless, meaning there's no infrastructure at all. They can come and go overnight without having any permanent installation. That's what every company so far has done.
If they're losing money in a market eventually, they'll just come some night and pick them up and they'll be gone, because they don't have a contract with anybody. You know.
Okay, but in order to find out where the rides are going to initiate, you have to have some out here someplace.
Yeah, they took advantage of a kind of a gap in the law when they first come to a community. They've done this in cities across. the
Okay, I know they have,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, they take advantage of lack of licensing or regulation on it. And now we're catching up. The state of Wisconsin's catching up and the municipalities are catching up. But they've been collecting data on all their rides, you know, everything they've been doing. Did they say they just hit 100 million rides in the United States? I think I saw that. Yeah,
I know it's a lot. I know they're
yeah.
extremely popular in some cities.
Some cities, however you want to define touristy neighborhoods or hip neighborhoods or places where people don't drive as much, you know, they pitch it as replacing vehicles, you know, one less car on the road, so.
Mr. Chair, just, I mean, I know we talk, I mean, just as well about the bicycle, the bubbler. I mean, I look all those racks, and now in many places, I see only one or two bicycle, really. I don't see, the whole racks are full, and I mean, I never see them really.
Whole different
So what's
topic.
going on? I mean,
Yeah,
they're
it's
making
all-
no profits on? I mean, we spend a lot of money to,
Well, we didn't spend any money.
well, I mean, like I said, it was donations or whatever it was, you know. But still, I mean, what's the reason? I mean, is there many people ride those bikes? I mean, that's a question.
Different topic, but in communities where dockless scooters come, well, first of all, the bike shares are going dockless now also. So they're the same thing in a lot of communities. There's no charging stations. But in a lot of communities where the dockless scooters come, it has a negative impact on their bike share programs. So not a reason to
Yeah.
not do it because of that.
I agree with Tom. Let's let everybody else
Yeah.
run it through and then,
Look at it in
instead of-
February or
instead of
March.
February, March.
Instead of allowing it all here and then trying to take it back. It's always hard to try to take it back.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and I agree as well, and, yeah, and then realizing we don't know, I don't think anyone in this room knows what's going to happen with this phenomena of dockless scooters. Is it going to take off? Is it gonna all of a sudden be really popular? I don't necessarily anticipate that, but we know, then next year, if it does take off, if our citizens are demanding, hey, I'd love to be able to ride my dockless scooter in West Dallas, then we can revisit this and start to allow it, if that happens.
Agreed.
Alderman May.
Same. Kale, if you could add carriage walks in front of carriage walks, obstructing a carriage walk. No parking on bicycle paths. And then my question is when, you know, John Q. Public rides his Lime into the city of West Dallas, he doesn't necessarily know where the city limit starts and ends and what our rules are. Are we gonna have to post signs at the entrances to our cities? You know, no.
There's no requirement of that, just like, it would be a general ordinance, so just like we don't post local traffic regulations necessarily here, you would have to, everyone's presumed to know the law.
Okay.
Okay,
No parking, 3 a.m. to 6 a.m.
As I said, there are some that we do have to
Yeah.
post, right?
Yeah.
Only by statute, we have to post those on the entrance points of every city where there is a trunk highway entering the city for night parking and snow emergency regulations, and that's by statute.
That's it, just those two things, okay.
Mr. Chair?
Alderman
It
Weigel.
seems like we have a consensus. I just want to know how we're going to ask our police department to treat them when they are left here. What do we want? Do we want them impounded as soon as the rider walks away from the thing?
Alderman Weigel, I would say our police department has better things
I
to
would
do.
think so too.
You know, see how Lime Scooter picks them up. They say they pick them up certainly overnight. I think they mentioned they try to get them within 6 hours. If they're not, and we get a complaint and it's been there overnight and they're a day or something, then we can send whoever, police, public works, whoever, to pick them up. But I think we should let Lime Scooter do their job rather than us spend taxpayer money
Right.
for,
I guess that'd be a good way to see if they're
Exactly.
keeping their word.
we'd get some good experience
Yeah.
that way.
Mr. Chair, just to jump off of that point, you'll see the penalties that are also created for these violations. So again, these numbers are numbers I just came up with because they seem to be reasonable compared to other similar type of violations. So a person who operates the scooter either on a road that would be 35 miles an hour or 30 miles an hour, or someone who operates one on a sidewalk, penalty would be $1 to $100. Parking violation would be $1 to $25. And operating the short-term commercial would be $1 to $1,000. The reason I picked the higher number on that one is because there's obviously a commercial incentive to violate that law, and I wanted to ensure that the equation was well in hand, that a penalty would be much higher than the money that it could possibly make, whereas the other two are not necessarily financially incentivized.
I think the starting point, Mr. Chair, I think the starting point should be higher than $1
For the last one,
for all of them.
I'm open to any.
He's letting us make a
suggestions.
suggestion. Yeah.
I at least $10.
That's not worth
A
collecting.
suggestion.
It's not worth collecting $10.
I mean,
It'd be 10
I was
plus fees, so
thinking
it'd be
25,
65.
but
Okay.
This is the forfeiture amount, so. it would add
Oh,
on.
okay. 10
Oh, so yeah,
So
they're all
technically
court
we-
costs and everything?
Adding court costs, the range would actually be, for example, $52 to $1,300 for the last one.
okay.
If you, once you add the fees in.
But like,
Should we designate the months that the scooters will be used in the ordinance, or is that necessary?
You could, only if you're gonna peel back those, but you cannot limit when a private owner operates.
Yeah.
I see.
That was not allowed by the statute.
Another question, Mr. Chair.
Alderman Weigel.
If the state of Wisconsin decides to allow them on the Hank Aaron, parts of the Hank Aaron, although it's mostly on our border, parts of it are in our community.
Mhm.
There'd be traveling through our community on it, but not parking it in our community? Yes. And there's really nowhere, unless you were going to like to the zoo.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, or the fair. Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
I think it's something we can revisit.
Yeah.
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 Mr. Chair, what if we just do
I'm
25 for a parking violation? Would that be worth it?
I mean, the parking violation obviously would go, against the owner of it, so, just like in the parking ticket. The hard part's gonna be enforceability. I don't know what the collection mechanism is gonna be, other than just
Yeah.
essentially holding the scooter,
I
in
think
impound
that's-
to compel payment. So, the way this would have to work would be, obviously, this is a discussion point, but at safety and development, I would just present it as amended, and then see what the vote would be. That's how I anticipate doing it, unless there's no thought on that.
No, that's fine.
So is the will then to?
I think the will is to,
Allow private
Allow it.
ownership and operation on city streets and in our bike lanes,
Yep.
but not allow the businesses
at this point.
at this
correct.
point. And we'll revisit it sometime,
Yep.
maybe this winter or
Next
next spring
spring,
or
yeah.
something.
All right, Mr. Chair, I have one more question. I thought I was clear in my mind, now I'm not sure. Can a person operate their private electric scooter in a bicycle lane? Not park it, but operate it in a bicycle lane on the street?
Yes.
I think they should be
I
able
think
to.
they,
I think they should be
good.
able to.
That's the answer I was hoping
It's
for.
closer to a bicycle in use than it is a car.
Yes.
Although bicycles are allowed to operate in bicycle lanes everywhere
I don't know how
also.
many bicycle lanes are on 25-mile-an-hour roads, though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's gonna be real restrictive that no one's gonna pay attention to.
Wouldn't
Oh, yeah.
bicycle way
Bicycles
be
got 25.
interpreted as a bicycle lane?
No,
Or is there a
bicycle
difference?
way is a bike path.
That's a right, where
And
only bikes
a
go.
bicycle lane is what we're talking about on a road, a designated bicycle lane with cars.
I looked at it and I
So
thought it was the
national-
bicycle lane.
Like on National where the new green markings are, that's the
Okay.
bicycle lane part of, between 76th and 70th.
I
Mr.
see.
Chair,
I see.
Almost
would we
lots.
have to then change the, speed for that? Because it says they can't operate on, streets that are less than, or more than 25 miles an hour. So if we're on National,
Can't operate.
that's more than 25 miles an hour, but we have bike lanes.
That's okay, they can't go there.
I'm okay with them on the bike path. yeah.
Do we wanna allow that, so they can be on those paths?
Nope.
No,
What- I'm sorry, which paths?
On
National
National Avenue, the bike lane.
Well, there's still a speed limit restriction.
Right, that's why I'm saying, do we want to change that so that they
Well-
can be on those?
What we're doing now is essentially sending them to all of our side streets
yeah.
Okay.
with this. They're
Keep
not gonna
them
be on
off the-
Greenfield
keep them
or
off the busy
84th
streets.
or 76th or Highway 100 or Lincoln.
Yep,
'Cause they can go faster than a bike.
oh, yeah.
Not my bike.
My bike can go faster than your bike. Oh, wait, that's a motorcycle, sorry.
Just to clarify too, the way it would work practically from someone crossing a street that's a 35-hour street is they could walk it across a crosswalk.
They'll have to walk it across the crosswalk. That's not happening.
Nobody, yeah.
No, is that true though? I
Yeah.
mean, you're crossing a 30-mile-an-hour street. You're not technically operating
No,
on
you are.
the direction of travel.
There's really, the speed limit is upon entering intersection, the same speed limit across both ways, technically. So at that point in time.
You're saying it's the higher of the two speed. If a 25 mile an hour street crosses a 35 mile an hour cross street, what's the speed limit in that square?
It'd be a very interesting question, because I've actually.
25
that's-
miles on one road and 35 on the other.
Depends which direction you're going.
The engineer in me would say, yeah. it
Depends which
on
direction
Yeah,
you're
what
going.
direction, yeah.
I don't have to look into it, because I've never seen a speeding citation issue in across.
I hope you have more important stuff to do.
Exactly.
You got 124th Street, one side's 30 miles an hour, and New Berlin side's 35 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But
So
it's
what's
your
Dallas's 30?
approach. Whatever your
Right.
approach is usually.
Yeah, West Dallas is 30, New Berlin's
No,
35.
it's 35.
No,
No,
go
yeah.
look, go look.
Mary, no, if
No,
it-
again.
from
Hey.
Oklahoma
$100
south,
bill.
it changes.
$100 bill.
It's on-
Either way you can't operate a scooter on
I
R20.
never
wait a
saw
minute.
that sign.
One other change that Marty and I were
Yeah,
talking
We
about
just
is-
looked at it yesterday.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
is under
yeah,
1B,
on the way back from golf.
striking or bicycle way. I don't mind them operating on a bicycle way, I just don't want them parking
Park
on a bicycle way.
Yeah.
If everyone else agrees.
Yeah, that's fine.
So they could use them on the crosstown connector, but not
Sure.
park them there.
To me, that's
Sure, that's good.
confusing. Yeah, I like that better.
All right.
Okay, I think you have your instructions for introduction at the next council meeting, correct? Okay. Anything else?
This is the version I presented at safety and development tonight then.
Oh, is it, I didn't even, it is, so we can
Yeah.
do it tonight? Oh, okay, very good.
We are a very efficient council.
Great.
All we have to do is come up with the fines at safety and development.
Is there a motion?
And
to
I'm gonna go
adjourn?
buy one tomorrow.
So moved.
I had one 15 years ago.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Yeah, I had one 15 years ago.
No, we just came back
It
from,
only had 5-mile range though.
we were coming back from
I don't know
golf.
if they are. I think we
And,
should.
my
my
neighbor said, he goes, "You see New Berlin's
they're a
35
dollar?
and West Allis
I
is
wanna
30?"
watch you
I says, "No."
operate.
You missed it.
Our subcommittee, which is going to act on it tonight. Which subcommittee, please? But he was so vague, like he said all this vote to make a rule about. Like nondescript, so I didn't know what to expect. With the idea being that we can always revisit this at some other point in the future. And yes, yes.
That's gonna be downstairs.
Yes,
The committee meeting is downstairs.
right.
In the art gallery, so yeah, we start out together, then we go out into our committee meetings. Yeah, the one that you'll want to be in regarding that issue is in the art gallery downstairs, so directly below.
How do I report out a discussion? Communication? I didn't think so either.
I got 60th in Washington. I saw your good best effort. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know either, yeah. Didn't expect anyone. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to call our common council to order. I will ask our clerk to call the roll to determine a quorum.
Alderman Barzak. Here. Plesky. Here. Haas. Here. Lysick. Here. May. Here. Reinke. Here. Rote. Here. Stefanski. Here. Vitale.
Here.
And Weigel. Here. That's 10 present.
Quorum is present. Please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led this evening by Alderman Gary Barzak.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excuse me. We will move on to item D in our agendas. We have one item for public hearing. I'll ask the clerk to read that.
Resolution to approve amending the fiscal year 2019 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan.
Mr. Schloss.
Mr. Mayor, members of the Common Council, tonight we are fulfilling a statutory requirement of the Community Development Block Grant Program, in which we'd like to create two new activities following one of the programs that we did fund closed, and that was West Central Interfaith, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. The amendment to the fiscal year 2019 CDBG program is part of our citizen participation plan to have a public hearing, and the two activities that would be created are a $30,000 homeless outreach program and a $29,500 ERAS Senior Network Neighborhood Outreach Program. The amendment for the homeless program is a home first type of initiative to help homeless people in our community get connected to services and agencies that can help them. There are some agencies that are starting to operate in our city that you might have seen recent headlines about Tent City and other initiatives where people are providing food and meals. We'd like to get individuals connected with agencies that can help them get shelter, work towards employment and things like that. And that is the Housing First Homeless Outreach Program. The second one is related to West Central Interfaith, which closed in the winter of 2019 after we adopted our CDBG program. And this program would be in partnership with Milwaukee County, in the sense that ERAS is partnering with Milwaukee County to provide senior outreach. And it's very similar to what we had with West Central Interfaith. ERAS would step in and provide the same service for our seniors. And that outreach includes coordination of rides, volunteers to help people stay in their homes, such as doing yard work, connection to doctors or resources for appointments, a general outreach for seniors or elderly members of our community. And that is the conclusion of our public hearing. I'd gladly answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Schloss, for the presentation. Are there any questions from the members of the Common Council on this item?
Seeing no questions, are there any questions on this item from the members of the audience? Okay, seeing none, we will close public hearing number 1, and we will move on to item E on our agenda, which is citizen participation. This is where we can listen to members of the public that can address myself and the Common Council on matters of interest to them. We ask that you keep your comments to about 5 minutes, and we allot 30 minutes of our agenda for this portion tonight. Does anybody wish to address the council under citizen participation this evening? Okay, seeing none, we will close citizen participation. We will move to item F on our agendas, which is the recess meetings of our standing committees. Those room numbers are listed on page 1 of your agendas this evening. Moving on to item G, the mayor's report. Just a few things I wanted to touch base on. We have had a plethora of new businesses opening in the past few weeks. Last week, we had a ribbon cutting down right next to Aggie's Bakery. Sway Tea opened up, so for all of those tea drinkers that have been tired of the coffee house scene, we now have a place that is a tea house, and they make their own herbal teas and medicinal teas. Later last week, where the old wedding center building was in our downtown, we had Walter Holtz Antiques open up. He is a high-end antique dealer, and I walked in there and saw a really nice looking table that said, "Hey, this looks cool," and I looked at the price tag and it was almost $13,000. So, but apparently he has one of literally the best, top 10 inventories of antiques in the country, and has had some very high profile customers, and has a really just a beautiful store if you just want to walk in and window shop, which I plan on doing. That is there. And then about an hour and a half ago, Alderman Haas and Alderperson Ranky and I were out at 102nd and National by Piggly Wiggly welcoming a new branch of Waterstone Bank to the community. And then tomorrow afternoon, we will be cutting the ribbon for Quick Trip on Highway 100. So a lot of good things happening. If you get a chance, feel free to stop in and check out these new businesses and welcome them to the community. I do want to briefly thank everybody that worked on the Better Block project last weekend, September 6th and 7th, I believe it was. A lot of residents, businesses, and city staff worked on rehabbing that intersection for a weekend and re-envisioning it and putting a lot of ideas in people's heads. I won't go too much into them, but it was a great event, and a lot of people worked hard to pull it off, so I wanted to publicly thank and commend them for that. That concludes the mayor's report this evening. Do we have any reports from the alderpersons?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman Stefanski.
I wanted to thank everybody who helped put Woods and Wings together this weekend. I participated as a judge on the wings, which was a real treat. Want to congratulate Benno's for winning the best wing, which was with their dill pickle dry rub. Oh my gosh, it was awesome. And I also want to mention that next week, Monday, Suzette's Hair for You is doing a fundraiser for the family that lost their house to a fire this last weekend. And she's doing haircuts for $20, and all the proceeds are going to the family. And it's going to be from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock Monday evening. So if anybody can come out for that and show support and help out the family, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. I won't have much need for those services, but I'm sure there are some people in the community that will. Any other alderpersons' reports?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman May?
I did want to mention the same issue with the fire. The family that this happened to, they are highly involved in the PTA organization here in the city of West Allis. Past involvement with Walker PTA, Lane PTA, Nathan Hale PTA, Wisconsin PTA Council, the Rainbow Gardens Neighborhood Association, and with BSA Scouts. A very generous family that has given a lot of its time to the community. And if anyone is interested, and they happen to be on Facebook, if you look up Randy and Shannon Mission Family House Fire Emergency Fund, you can help out there, or if you like, you can give me a call as well, and I will help direct you to where to go. My telephone number is 414-460-6442. So far, I believe they've raised close to $10,000. They've got the clothing needs that they need, but it's other things that, that's quite an inconvenience when you lose everything in your fire. And it takes a lot of time for the insurance to kick in and reimburse people. So if you can help out, feel free to let me know. I imagine you can contact the mayor as well, and we'll make sure your resources go to the family. Thank you.
Any other reports from the alderpersons this evening?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move for approval of the minutes of the Common Council meeting of September 3rd, 2019.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. Are there any changes or amendments to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? The minutes are approved. We will move to item J, and we are going to take up item 3. I would like to ask Rick Keller to come up. Don't know if he knew he was coming up, but... And Alderman Lysick, if you want to join me up here. So Rick Keller is retiring at the end of October after 41 years of service to the city, West Allis Memorial Hospital, and Aurora Healthcare. If you want to read, I just wanted to say briefly that the city has had a long, amazing relationship with the hospital in our community, and Rick has been an integral part in facilitating and fostering that relationship. We're going to miss you. We have been so appreciative of all your efforts and all the things that you've done for the community and the city, and you've just been such a great partner. We just have some proclamations, commendations, and parting gifts for you this evening. So I'll leave it to President Lysick.
And Rick, I'd just like to say on behalf of Alderman Rote and myself, we represent the area that the hospital is in, and we've had nothing but a great working relationship and great respect for you and the help you've given us over the years. So we really appreciate that. The resolution of commendation for Rick Keller, whereas Rick Keller will retire effective October 31st, 2019, after 41 years of service to the city of West Allis Memorial Hospital, and Aurora Healthcare. And whereas during his career, Rick has served the community as administrative assistant, vice president operations, and president of West Allis Memorial Hospital, Aurora West Allis Medical Center. And whereas prior to serving in these roles, Rick earned his bachelor's degree with majors in economics and psychology from Gustavus Adolphus College in St. Peter, Minnesota, and furthered his education by earning an MSPH from University of Missouri in Columbia, Missouri. Whereas Rick served as a member of the Greater Milwaukee South Patient Services Area Leadership Team and was instrumental in the planning and construction of the Aurora's Women's Pavilion. And whereas Rick contributes to exemplary leadership in his profession by serving as a fellow with the American College of Healthcare Executives. And whereas Rick has served the West Allis community as a member of the Board of Directors at Village at Manor Park, as a member of the city's Centennial Planning Committee, and has supported the community's public health as a member of the Steering Committee for the Development of the Community Health Improvement Program. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of West Allis that Rick Keller be and is hereby specially commended for his dedication and service to the Aurora West Allis Medical Center, its patients and staff, and the citizens of West Allis, and congratulated for a job well done. Be it further resolved that the Common Council hereby extends to Rick its best wishes for a long, prosperous, and healthy retirement. And I would move for adoption of this resolution.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries.
This is really an honor, and I very much appreciate the recognition and the acknowledgement. I think that I've been really privileged to work in West Allis and to be part of and to help lead the hospital here in this community. And one of the things that has made it so special is the relationship that we have with the city of West Allis. It's part of our culture, and we're always mindful of the fact that the hospital was built by the city continues to be owned by the city. And that's created a special relationship and I think a special bond between the hospital, the people who work there, and the community that we serve here in West Allis. You know, as part of that relationship, we have always had the support and had the city of West Allis, the city officials and department heads and people of the city behind us and supporting us and making sure that we had what we needed at the times that we needed it in order to be able to serve the needs of this community. So I just want to thank all of you, all of your predecessors, all the people that have been involved from the city of West Allis over the 41 years that I've been here, because it truly has made it a special experience for me and one that I will always cherish. Thank you.
Okay, coming back to our agenda, item J, I will ask for a motion to place item 4 on file and refer item 5 to the city attorney.
So moved. Second.
It's a motion by Alderman May, second by Alderman Barzak. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Item K, standing committee reports. Alderman Haas, we have one item under A and F.
I'll report that out after recess.
Got it.
Here divine.
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we stand in recess until conclusion of the committee meeting.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We are in recess.
First thing we have, the jacket for, there's no number on here. For Happy Tap? Happy Tap. Oh, here, Jesus, right in front of me. Excuse me, never mind. Okay, item number 21 is Mark Lavora. Okay. That's the fourth district now, huh?
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello. You're, you be taking over the Happy Tap?
Yeah. Licensing for Happy Tap.
Okay, and,
Applying for license for Happy Tap. We had occupation. Had all the inspectors through this morning for.
have you done this before, or?
Yes. I have a bar right now. I've been in the business forever. I have a bar right now in Greenfield on 51st and Cold Spring called Levere's.
Okay. So you're familiar with all the rules and everything, so.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman Weigel.
the old International Tap, is that what
Yeah,
Levere's
yes,
is?
yes.
Have you had any problems there in Greenfield? I guess I didn't
not at
check.
all.
Okay. And Levere's, that name goes back to
Yeah,
the east side
that's
of
from my
Milwaukee.
family. I had Levere's on Oklahoma, 68th and
68th and Oklahoma.
Yeah, that was bada bing, and I cleaned it up and straightened it out and ran it as a tavern instead of a club for
Yeah,
years.
Yeah.
And I had the saloon on Rawson and Howe with another partner in Oak Creek. For years, that burnt down. That had that fire there. in that
What about
corner.
the one on the east side on Prospect?
Prospect Avenue was my father.
Okay, I was gonna say, you're not old enough to have been.
I bartended there. I'm 62, so I was there, and just back in the day when Molitor and all them were
Yeah,
coming in.
yeah,
Been doing this my whole life.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Is that subject to necessary requirements? Is that subject to necessary
Yes.
requirements?
I second.
Okay.
SNTR.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Good luck.
Motion
Thank you
carries.
very
Yeah.
much. Thank you, gentlemen.
Sure. Then we have item 22, Sarah Warren, Kyle Ida. Okay. Now you can be opening up, let's see, that's the old pickle place. I'm sure you're probably tired of hearing that, but everybody knows it as the pickle place.
With the green siding.
And so now,
Oh, teals.
I know you were looking at various other things to do with the property and everything, and is that gonna change your mind if that doesn't get okayed, or how's that?
Well, at this point, we're not pursuing anything for like outdoor dining or anything like that. We're pretty flexible, and we understand that moving into this property is a growing thing. We have to build rapport with you. So if we have, 25 seats indoors, that's a good place for us to start.
Okay. Does anybody else have any?
Mr. Chair, is this a
Alderman Roth.
petition to go over quota, or what? This is for a
Yeah.
craft brewery, correct?
Yeah. This is a communication to, petition to exceed the license quota.
So then we have to go to a public hearing, correct?
Right.
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Alderman Hess.
And so your plan, you're calling yourself a brewery, and I didn't have it, you have your business plan here. Are you going to be brewing in the facility, or is that an idea in the future that you might do that, or from day one are you brewing? Tell us about that.
Currently speaking, we can put a 1-barrel brew system in there, and we would like to be brewing in the facility. We're also interested in it because it gives us the opportunity to make some of our own food, and we think that's a niche that a lot of the craft breweries are missing out on.
We are planning to apply for a full-on brew pub license.
Okay, right, you have to get your brewer's license from the federal government. Where are you in that process?
We need permission from you guys, we need the architect's plans, and then we can bundle that up, send it off to the feds for approval.
And one more thing, Mr. Chair, and this would just be
Mm.
craft beer only. This is not liquor, not
No.
cider.
Yeah, no liquor.
Not production. We are, with the brew pub license, I think that includes the ability to sell it, if I'm not mistaken, but we
Yes,
won't be
this is a-
producing anything like that.
I mean,
Mr. Chair?
Wait a minute.
Please.
That's it. You mean you'll be able to sell hard liquor and everything? This license will give you the right to do that, but you're not making it, that's what you said.
Correct.
So the answer to your
Right.
question is yes, they will be serving hard liquor also, not
What
just
does
beer.
West Stallion have?
That's a state license of some kind.
Go ahead.
Please, someone.
All right, so West Stallion is only a brewery. They are only brewing beer on premises and selling that beer only with limited exceptions of like a guest beer and stuff like that. Brew Pub is a brewery that also has a full liquor license and beer license that they could sell other people's alcohol.
So that's why we're going, have the public hearing for going over quota because of the liquor
As
aspect.
they're getting a license from us, West Stallion only has a license through the state,
Okay.
or a permit through the state.
But they have a license with us.
No, West Stallion does not.
Didn't they come in for a,
No.
they don't need, I thought they needed one, okay.
Gave them money.
Alone.
We're not gonna go that way.
Mr. Chair? So the brew pub license is not a license we issue.
Correct.
That's issued by the state of Wisconsin. And does that have any restrictions on it? Like
Just-
food?
Yeah, it is required to have a restaurant.
Okay, and what's the restriction, is there a percentage of food sales?
I think it's less than more than 50%, or less than 50% for the alcohol part of it, I believe. Is it?
If I may, I believe the restriction
Right.
comes from the feds.
Yeah.
And the enforcement usually goes that should we be dinged for other things, they would then look at our receipts to determine the balance of food sales to beverage sales. And I believe we'd have to demonstrate 60% on the food side.
So the license you're getting from the state of Wisconsin is gonna require you to say that you're doing 60% food?
Yes.
Because I read your business plan, and I don't see 60% food in here. I don't see how you're gonna get there, I guess.
Yeah, Mr.
And I'd hope you're not just relying on lack of enforcement.
No,
No.
Okay.
no. Go ahead.
As we've begun to develop our menu options, looking at the facility, focusing on some interesting appetizers, hot dogs, your standard grilled cheese, chili, and stuff like that, we think we can do more like a 7-8 item menu.
Oh, and me?
I was just gonna mention that.
Okay.
And those receipts that the federal government looks at, is it sales or is it dollars?
I believe it's a percentage of the dollars,
Yeah.
correct me if I'm wrong.
It wouldn't be item count.
No.
No.
Yeah, it would make more sense to be dollars, but.
Okay, but this petition is just to
Get it to public hearing.
get it to, public hearing for the over quota. So,
Yeah, because there's no license application attached to this. We have no floor plan here, right? This is not the license.
Correct.
And
So-
Mr. Chair, I move for approval to proceed to a public hearing on this issue.
I'll second.
is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, wait.
will that hearing be scheduled for 30-day notice, right?
If you haven't applied yet, right?
No.
So we got a 15-day lead time, so if you come in soon, we can get the public hearing for October 15th.
Just trying to get the time frame straight for everybody.
Okay,
What would that deadline be for us?
The application needs to be on file 15 days prior to them granting, so. by
September
October-
30th?
Yeah,
Okay.
September,
Really, you don't have a deadline, it's just a matter of
September
whether.
30th.
You want to make the next meeting?
Right.
The deadline to be October 15th would be September 30th, yeah.
Thanks.
okay. Okay, then we have item number 23, various license.
Move approval.
Second.
Now, these are all licenses we have gone through already?
Those are all ones that are okay.
Don't have a problem.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. 24, special event permit.
Move approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carry. Then we have 26 is the police
25.
report. Yep, 25. Sorry, we got 25 right. Sorry about that. Okay, this is for the music permit for the Studs Pub.
Move approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Now we're at police report. Number 26.
Move to place on file.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then we have this, the report for the tobacco compliance.
No violations.
With no violations, a
Hey,
very
that
thin
was-
report.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's good.
Move
That's
to
good.
place on file.
Second.
Yeah, I was laughing. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Then we have, let's see, item 28. This report involving, okay, item 28, well, let's take item 28. This was on a police report. Do I have a motion to place this on file? They did everything right. Everybody read the police reports?
I thought that was the one where they had the minors present. and-
Yeah, 28 is the one where it's the recurring problem with this one individual who lives in
Right,
the neighborhood who keeps
right.
coming in.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you want to call them in?
No, I
I
don't
don't
blame
think there's
them.
anything he can do.
Right, I didn't think it was their
I
problem.
I believe, yeah.
Because I thought they asked them to leave,
Yeah,
yeah.
28 place on file.
Okay, you're making that motion?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
And I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Then we have Paulie's where they did serve somebody for the compliance check. Like to hold them and call them in.
Mhm.
And then we have the summons and complaint for Las Palmas.
Las Palmas.
Let's see.
So, Mr.
They went
Chair,
along. Oh, these are the ones that were.
Findings.
these are the findings.
Yeah, these are the
Well,
findings.
summons
I
and
think.
complaint and the findings is 31.
Right.
Well,
30.
30 is
and
the,
31.
30 is the summons.
is the summons and complaint. So I believe 30, 32, 34 would be on file, 31, 33, and 35 would be to approve. And with that, I will make that
Oh, wait.
motion.
Well, let's take
You wanna do
them
them separately?
separately, yeah.
So, okay,
Let's take
item
the
30
first
would be on file.
one. Yeah, but
Second.
we got that, we already voted on this, I thought. Under other. Okay, so, a second, and, okay, and then, number 31 was to approve?
Correct.
Yes. And, Mr. Chair, a reminder,
Yes,
was that
go
a
ahead.
15-day, what did we do there? 50 days, no liquor service, no alcohol
Who's this?
service?
October 1st to
Oh, fir-
October
10th,
10 days.
right,
consecutive.
right.
10 consecutive days, no alcohol. The restaurant can stay open, but no beverage, no
Correct.
alcoholic beverages.
Correct. So, is there any further discussion on either one of these? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Just a sec. Go ahead.
I was going to suggest item 32 for file and 33 for approval.
I second on both. And please remind
Wait a
me
minute.
also what was the punishment?
They were 15 days,
That was 15 days?
not all in a row.
Between now and the end of the year, they pick the dates.
Mr. Chair?
Oh, that's very generous. of
Yes.
us.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Yeah.
They've been closed every time I've gone by there.
One of the days, let's see, today's 17th. Today was one of the days.
Oh, okay.
And Assistant City Attorney called me and said, should we call them back, say they can't have this day? And I just says, well, if they already got it down, instead of going through the whole procedure again, that's fine.
Because I was under the impression we were gonna wait until the council
The
approved.
17th, yeah.
Yeah, I was,
For-
yeah.
Yeah, so it would be only for today.
But they've been closed a bunch of other days. I'm
Well-
not sure. Do they understand that they got another 15 days, 14 days?
There's a,
coming?
yeah,
I
there is a list. The
Okay.
city attorney's office has a list.
Okay.
You got the copy.
What's that?
You got a copy.
Okay,
Christmas is one of them, I mean, it's
Alderman May did,
Thanksgiving.
you
And I
made second?
Yes.
Okay, is there any further discussion on 32 and 33? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Okay, then we have 34 and 35, basically the same thing.
thing, we can.
34, Mr.
34?
Chair,
Place
move to
on
place
file.
34 on file and approve 35.
So moved.
Second.
Or what?
Okay, he made the
I know
motion.
what you meant.
And so,
You beat me to it.
It's fine.
so, who-
Third it.
Waggle's second.
It's fine.
Literally, say, guys are trying to confuse me and it's working.
It's working.
Yeah. Is there any further discussion on either one of these? All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Motion carries.
Chair, I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? We are adjourned.
All right, and the Administration and Finance Committee will come to order. All 5 members are present, and we'll start with our joint agenda items, which are 7 and 8. So item 7, a resolution to authorize Director of Public Works to sign a proposal for professional services. $18,000 is the amount.
Awesome.
Move approval.
Motion
Second.
from Alderman Weigel, second from Alderman Chaplesky. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. And then item 8 is a resolution authorizing the purchase of hardware, equipment, service supports for mobile asset works.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion from Alderman May, second from Alderman Weigel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Then on our supplemental agenda is item 8A, and we're gonna buy a fire truck.
Move for approval?
Yeah.
With donated money.
Right, the important thing with donated money, yes.
And Haas wants the first ride as the biggest
I
donor.
was-
Yeah.
He gets to-
And then I want one because I donated.
Yeah.
I'm teasing. There's no conflict of
Yeah.
interest here.
Yes.
You
yes.
had to you're interested in driving it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Yeah, and Chief Pooler, yeah, thank you to you and your staff for the work getting that together and making this happen. It's been a while. So, yeah.
There's been a lot of talk about this thing for quite some time.
Mr.
Right.
Chair, where is it now?
Right now, it's still up in Sheboygan, the collector has it.
Okay.
Once we get the check cut, then we'll go up there and arrange transport down here. So get flatbed down.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Just got a question. Now, who's going to own that?
The city will own
The city, will be city property? Okay. So the city has to maintain it?
I don't think we're, I don't think
That's
we're gonna
fine.
fight fires with it though.
We got a new,
No, I
we
know,
got a
I
new
know.
mechanic now.
I understand. They have their own mechanic. We don't have to worry. Okay.
All right, and then, moving on to item 9, resolution amending the authorization given to the city administrator to enter into a professional service agreement with HR Pro Consulting.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion from Alderman May, second from
And
Alderman
Mr.
Weigel.
Chair,
Any
and we-
discussion?
How long is this for?
Ms. Grill.
This would give enough for till the end of the year. Hopefully we'll have someone before the council to take the person's place in November or early December. So this is just giving the ability to, if we need to go through the end of the year. So, because it has.
And it's a
the amount
maximum
is
number.
because
So this
it's
is an
the
up to,
whole-
this is an
yes.
up to number. It
This
says
is
not to exceed.
For the whole year.
So it could cost a lot less.
Well, not a lot less.
Could cost less, I wouldn't say a lot, but yes.
It's a relevant
couple
term.
months.
It's a relevant term.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 10, resolution relative to accepting a single source proposal from WCTC for Lean Six Sigma Greenbelt training.
Move approval.
Motion from Alderman May,
Second.
second from Alderman Roach. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 11, a resolution to create City of West Dallas policies and procedures
Move
regarding
approval.
volunteer policy.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Grill, can you tell us what
Yeah, I
this
was gonna
does?
ask some questions.
So that,
Mr. Maddie, can you tell us what this does?
Well, this cost the city $0 and could save us thousands.
That's what we want to hear.
But can you drive it?
But can you drive it? This essentially allows residents to volunteer for the city beyond committees, boards, and commissions. And it also allows employees to volunteer for city opportunities on their own volition.
How about employees that are not residents of the city?
Fire and library would continue to operate their own volunteer programs, which are already well-run. This would just be city.
Mr. Chair? Oh, sorry.
Alderman Weigel and then Alderman May.
So I helped with the county and their volunteer policy. I didn't see like a lot of meat here. We're still gonna flesh out a lot of details, like if someone wanted to use a lawnmower, whose would it be? How does that work? We're still working on that?
that would be working with a specific department.
Okay.
And our risk management group.
Would have
We
to
didn't
review.
want to put
Yeah.
a whole bunch of.
No, we're still gonna
things
flesh
in the
out some of those
policy,
details.
But
Yeah,
as
yeah.
we work through the different types of volunteers, those things will be kept in mind. And, yeah, this just really expands our program, so we can have people helping at the farmer's market, helping with the different events that we are gonna be having.
Because we're planning on doing buckthorn invasive species removal at the dog park. So we'd have volunteers using hand saws, cutting down shrubs, essentially.
The department would just give
Yeah.
them an orientation of how to
Yeah.
use them safely.
I'm not thinking chainsaws or stuff.
Mr. Chair.
Alderman May.
So it mentioned something in there about the volunteering would be run through the communication department, which I thought was very odd. Why is that?
You're
The
not talking
basis for
about
that is a lot of it is gonna be having to do with events.
Mhm.
So just having it in one place, that's why we had it in the communications.
So
department.
any event that has volunteers, the communication department's gonna be in charge of making sure these volunteers are written down, that they're getting their training, they're getting all these things?
Not any event. So the police has their annual cleanup, that
Mhm.
will still be done.
Right.
While the police- it will be done in conjunction with the communications department, so if Public Works is having an event, they're actually the ones that are responsible for
Mhm.
the volunteers, but it will just flow through the communications department.
Okay. Am I the only one who thought that was a little weird? I have nothing against the communications
Right,
department.
volunteers, yeah.
I just never,
Well, if we run through the city attorney's office, it'll never.
then we'll never have an
Well,
opportunity
it
for
would, but-
volunteerism.
Go ahead, John.
The waiver would be longer.
The tourism and event coordinator would act as the volunteer coordinator, so the idea was kind of to centralize the whole process, so like, it's more efficient.
Okay, so let me ask this as well, if a neighborhood association wanted to do something like plant fruit trees in a boulevard somewhere, and they want to volunteer and do this for the city, it would still go through communications department to get approvals and everything for this?
How we work with the
Point of
Public
contact.
Works department.
Health department doesn't want fruit trees.
Right. Well, I just,
Yes.
That was a.
I mean,
that was a
if
first.
neighborhood association comes to me and
I
says
know.
they want to do this, would I say, contact John Matty over at the communications
Yes.
department, he'll
You
tell you what
could
to
do
do?
that, but I think what we're planning on doing is putting together like a volunteer request form, so
Mhm.
departments, there'll be a basic form, fill out what the volunteer opportunity is, resources needed,
Sure.
who, what, when, where.
And then is the purpose of this that those volunteers are covered then under city's insurance if they get hurt?
We do have volunteer insurance, they would be covered under that.
Okay.
The city attorney has said that we no longer have to collect the waiver,
Oh, good.
so,
One less hurdle.
so as long as the people are receiving no compensation
Mhm.
from the city, then they are volunteers. If they receive compensation, then they would be under our workers' comp, so.
Compensation, does that include donuts and coffee for showing up on a Saturday morning? or-
There's some,
Hey. Yeah.
we're supposed to offer that to anyone who might be in the area, if we're gonna be giving those things.
I got it, yep,
Ah.
I get it.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Item 12, the Finance Director Comptroller Report. Have a motion to place on file.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 13, a resolution regarding CDBG Annual Action Plan.
Move approval. This is our public
That was
hearing
a
item.
Is our public
Second.
hearing item.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I do, because I didn't bring it up at the council meeting. Is this gonna help us not have a tent city like Milwaukee has?
This is, yes.
How?
So what happens there are groups that are coming into this area, and
The Angels.
the Angels or the Feeding the Flock groups, they have a great mission, I understand. But in some cases, they're enabling homelessness in the sense
Mhm.
that providing a tent and providing security that way. It does seem like it's a great mission, but then you have the tent cities that just don't. This is the help, when we hear of homelessness direct, outreach, get the person to, we'll meet with them, they're familiar, how to deal with them, directing people to a shelter, getting them the services that they need, social service agencies. So it's the Housing First initiative versus trying to provide them something to stay comfortable where they're at.
Okay, so there seems to be a fair amount of tent people living in my district. Who do I call to,
We will have,
Who?
it'll be through Milwaukee County. Milwaukee County will provide that service within our district.
and who's gonna provide that number to
Our
me?
housing agency will have that.
Luke will.
Luke will provide.
So I call Luke?
Yes.
Okay, that's the answer I was looking for.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I believe you can call 211 at any time also. Just dial
Sure.
211 and
Any
call it,
of
and they'll take the information and also provide resources, so.
I always like a face behind the phone.
I
number,
understand.
And I know what Luke looks
You
like.
can
But,
call
but on a
Mr.
Friday night,
Mr.
If it's
Chair.
not available, if it's not available, you can call them.
yeah.
And Alderman Weigel.
So, but citizens could call a police non-emergency number, and
Correct.
they would, it's not just for us,
Right, but
This is also-
they
this
hand it
agency
off
will
too,
work-
though. They
Yeah.
say it's not their deal, it's, I just wanna know who to call.
The police can also direct people to this agency that will be helping as well. So if they have an
Yes.
individual that is dealing with a crisis, they can direct it to this agency that will be helping.
Okay.
Any
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Any other items properly before the committee? Have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
You're not.
You coming down for that?
Want to get rid of it?
We will call the common council back to order. I'll ask our clerk to call the roll.
Alderman Barzak. Here. Chapletsky.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Lysick.
Here.
May.
Here.
Frankie.
Here.
Rote. Here. Stefanski.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
And Weigel.
Here.
10 present.
We have a quorum. Alderman Haas.
Mayor Devine, the Administration and Finance Committee met and acted on the following items. Item 6 was placed on file. Items 7 through 8 were adopted, and those are our two joint items with the Public Works Committee. Item 8A on our supplemental agenda was adopted. Items 9 through 11 were adopted, 12 was placed on file, and 13 was adopted. I move for approval of the Administration and Finance Committee report.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Barzak.
Aye.
Chapletsky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
Frankie.
Aye.
Rote. Aye. Stefanski.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
That's 10 yeses.
Motion carries.
That is all. Thank you, Mayor Devine.
Thank you. Public Works Committee, Alderman Barzak.
Mayor Devine. I'd like to bring your attention to items number 14, 15, and 16 on tonight's agenda, an ordinance, a resolution, and a communication, all voted for favorably by all 5 members of the committee. I move for adoption of the committee's report.
Second.
We have a motion with a second by Alderperson Reinke. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Barzak.
Aye.
Chapletsky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
Frankie.
Aye.
Rote. Aye. Stefanski.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
And Weigel.
Aye.
It's 10 yeses.
Motion carries.
Mayor Devine, that is all. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Barzak. Next, we'll move on to the Safety and Development Committee, which does contain the electric scooters resolution, which our camera friend is here for. Alderman Lysick.
I refer you to items 17 and 18. Item 17 is the ordinance to create regulating the operation, parking, and rental of electric scooters as amended. And item 18 is relating to the definition of designated offender. That's to be passed as submitted, acted upon favorably by all 5 members of the committee. I move for adoption of the committee report.
Second.
There is a motion with a second by Alderman Barzak. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman May?
Alderman Lysick, were there any additional amendments past the committee of the whole meeting?
No, they were all just as submitted. The fines were all 25 to, as a minimum, up to whatever amounts they were.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? If there's no other discussion, Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Barzak.
Aye.
Chapletsky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
Frankie.
Aye.
Rote. Aye. Stefanski.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
And Weigel.
Aye.
That's 10 yeses.
Motion carries.
That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Next up is the License and Health Committee, Alderman Chapletsky.
Bring everyone's attention to items number 21 through 28 and 30 through 35 on tonight's agenda. These are various license reports, and we have 3 summons and complaints and findings and recommendations. These were all voted for approval. Approval subject to necessary requirements or to place on file by all 5 members. I'd like to move for the adoption of the committee's report.
Second.
There is a motion with a second by Alderman May. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And the Advisory Committee,
Mayor Devine.
Alderperson Reinke.
I direct the council's attention to item number 35 on tonight's agenda. It pertained to a discussion with our mayor of proposed state legislative bill relating to additional local tax, local sales and use tax for the Milwaukee County. The committee had the discussion and place this communication on file. I move to place it on file. Mayor
Second.
Devine.
We have a motion, we have a second. And just for clarity, I think you said item 35, but it's 36.
Oh, I apologize.
We follow you. We're good. Any discussion on item 36? Placing it on file? Seeing no discussion? Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Barzak.
Aye.
Chapletsky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Stefanski.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
That's 10 yes.
Motion carries.
That is all, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Lysick.
I move that we adjourn until our next regularly scheduled meeting, Tuesday, October 1st at 7 p.m.
Second.
There is a motion with a second by Alderman Vitale. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We are adjourned.